Italian Football Podcast.
Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Italian Football Podcast. I'm Carlo Garganese, joined as always by Nima Tavalli. On today's show, we will review match day 2 of Serie A. Like match day 1, we had another shock at San Siro. This time it was Inter who lost 2-1 at home to Udinese. Dusan Vlahovic sent a message to everyone that he is still at Juventus with the winner off the bench against Genoa. Lazio got Maurizio Sarri by thumping Verona. Sambo Anguissa scored with the last kick of the game as champions Napoli just about beat Cagliari. Roma made it 2 wins from 2 as well against Pisa, thanks to Matias Soulé. Milan got their first win after Max Allegri's return, while Atalanta had another disappointing result at Parma. It is transfer deadline day. We're recording this just a number of hours before the window closes. And so we will be providing our winners, losers, our transfer grades for each club, plus reacting to some of the late deals on deadline day. And we'll also preview Italy's first game under new manager Rino Gattuso as the Azzurri play Estonia in World Cup qualifying, with first call-ups for Giovanni Leoni and Francesco Pio Esposito. And we'll also have our usual Baggio, Premface and Serie ASS of the week. If you want to support the Italian Football Podcast and receive all of our content that we do throughout the week without any ads, including this, our free Monday review show, our weekly Q&A episode where we answer all of the questions from our patrons, plus the Thursday midweek review show, plus interviews, post-match reaction, and much, much more, then go to patreon.com/TIFP, become a subscriber for just $3.99 a month. You can also watch our free episodes and our shorter clips on YouTube, and you can become a patron on YouTube memberships if you go to our YouTube channel on youtube.com/@ItaFootPod. You can also sign up to be a paid subscriber on Spotify, whichever platform that you do consume us on, Spotify, Apple, iTunes, YouTube. And we'd really appreciate if you give us a follow, subscribe to us, like us, give us a 5-star rating, whichever one is relevant, because by doing that, it really helps us to grow. And if you've not already done so, do also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and also now on TikTok. Okay, so let's get into today's show. So we start off with a review of match day 2 of the Serie A season, and we'll start off with the shock of the week at San Siro. It was Milan in match day 1 losing at home to Cremonese, and this week match day 2 is Inter losing 2-1 at home to Udinese. A disappointing defeat for Inter, first defeat for new manager Cristian Chivu. I'll let you take it away first, Nima. From my point of view, it was a bad first half defensively and structurally by Inter. I thought Inter dominated the second half, but couldn't break down an excellent Udinese backline and didn't show enough in being able to break down that deep defense. How do you? What are your takeaways from this disappointment?
That I have been expecting Inter to be inconsistent, and that there are structural issues at a tactical level. Even when they beat Torino, it was evident to see that there are issues. Cristian Chivu wants to play with a high back line. Inter don't have quick defenders who can play with a high back line. The issue, of course, being that against Torino, Inter's midfield was unable to impose themselves and put pressure on the ball. But there were instances where Torino played past Inter fairly easily. Not many, but there were instances. And what we saw Udinese do was a Kosta Runjaic who had done his homework and knew how to counter that. And that is why partly Inter are as part of the reason that I don't think Inter are going to be in any Scudetto race this season. I'm actually going to, as we said in our preview, we're going to give our final predictions at, when the Mercato closes. Now the Mercato has closed for Inter. Inter are not going to be in the Scudetto race. I said it even last week with Patrick after the 5-0 win. I've said it I've alluded to it all summer, but now I think it's evident. I think what Giuseppe Bergomi had said on Sky last night, everything that I've been alluding to and thinking. It's going to be a difficult year for Inter. Interisti have to understand who the owners are. The owners are a bank, not a family of tycoons. They do not give a rat's ass how Inter do if they Inter win trophies, as long as the money keeps coming in. We have to be honest about that. And the money has come in, and they have paid off some of the debt. They have refinanced the bond. They got rid of the bond by refinancing a loan, and they paid off large chunks of it. This is the new reality. The cycle is over. Inter fans need to come to terms with this, regardless of how many lies Piero Ausilio got. Well, for the next few weeks, which seems to be the only time he's going to be there, because him and Bacin seem to go to Saudi. But no matter how many lies Piero Ausilio, Bacin, and Beppe Marotta, the president, say in Italian media, the winning cycle is over. The Suning cycle, which started with Spalletti, went to Conte, and ended with Simone Inzaghi in May, is over. This is not that project. The Mercato was, most of the things they decided to do in the transfer window were things that had already been done before before Inzaghi decided to leave. The main things, the Luis Enriquez, the Sucices. And Chivu came in to continue formationally the plans that Inzaghi had wanted to do, namely move to a 3-4-2-1. Well, after the Lookman shit show, they sold Zalewski as a result of that, because they're not going to play with a 3-4-2-1. Boni is a backup to Thuram. Pio Esposito is the prima punta, the number 9, as a replacement for Arnautovic in the squad. So the makeup and structure has not changed. This is tactically, this is a stopgap year tactically for Inter before they're able to get the coach they want, if such a thing exists, and before they can actually move forward to the next step.
Yeah, I mean,
overall. But I want to talk about this game more, in detail. And Udinese knew exactly how to counter Inter. Inter were very easy to read, very open. Did not have an answer defensively in either phase, defensively or in the attacking phase. There was not enough pressure on the ball. It was confused, and it looked the way that I'd feared it was going to look.
Yeah, I think you're right. Udinese exposed the weaknesses that Inter have defensively and structurally, or the structural weaknesses of Inter defensively, if that makes sense, and which you alluded to. And I think that what we saw is where all the trouble came from was in the first half anyway, but even in the second half, there was a couple of counters and transitions. The transitions through the centre of midfield from midfield runners is what I saw. So Udinese actually wasted 2 good openings before they got the equaliser from the penalty, which we'll come to in a bit. One where Baggio and Keinan Davis, I can't remember who was responsible, but it was an easy pass to put one of them clean through, and one of them made the wrong run and wasn't put through. Otherwise, it's a clean 1-on-1. And another one where Sommer saved it. I think it was Atta on the left came inside. So kind of like these runners through the middle of the field. And so there's that, but then there's also just the issues defensively that we saw at the end of last season, and they like how leaky Inter were at the end of last season, especially in the Champions League, where they conceded 13 goals in their last 4 Champions League games. Okay, against top level opposition,
but that came towards the end of the season, Carlo, when Inter were completely physically spent. There weren't structural issues. This is a structural issue.
Well,
that was an energy issue.
Well, I think it's a bit. I think it was a
giant structural problem.
I think it was a bit of both. I think it was a bit of both because the Inter have played a lot of games and had a lot of long seasons, as everyone does. And
but Inter have an older squad. That was the point. That the squad.
Like I said, I think it's a bit of everything, and that's what I'm coming to. I think should Inter have spent on the defence this summer? There are questions of Acerbi at his age, at 37. There's questions on Bisek at this level as a starter, as a squad player. Fine, is he of the level required to be the starter, which raises questions on why Inter, he's not going to leave, but why Inter were willing to let Pavard go originally and have Bisek as their starter, when I think there are big questions whether he's good enough as a starter for a team of this magnitude going for the Scudetto. So I think there are questions, and maybe that is, we'll come to later on, we'll talk about, we'll do our grades for each club. That is probably where Inter have maybe made a mistake in the transfer market, that they probably needed to do something to strengthen or to lower the age of the defence. So that's where I saw Inter really targeted in this game. Having said that, though, I think Thuram said at the end of the game, I think Inter they were a little bit unlucky. We'll come on to the penalty in a bit. They were a little bit unlucky in the sense that actually, if you remove the penalty in this game away, which was 0.8 XG, Udinese only had a 0.38 XG in this game if you remove the penalty, which, we'll come to. Well, let's just talk about the penalty. Because the penalty was, whichever way you want to look at it, was unlucky for Inter. Now, my my opinion on penalties, especially handball penalties. By the rules, yes, it's probably a penalty, but the rule is ridiculous. It's got to a point now in football, it's been like this for many years, you can't jump naturally. For me, that's a natural maneuver. You jump up with your hands. Anybody that's played football at any level knows. If you haven't played football, you don't know this. If you have played football, you know that when you jump up, it's a natural movement to put your hands out. It's just what you do. It's just you keep to get your balance out. That's what Dumfries did. He jumped up and his hands came out. And yes, by the letter of the law, because his hands were out, the silhouette or whatever they want to call it, it hits his arm, and they say it's a penalty.
It makes his body unnaturally bigger. Everybody knows the laws of the game. I'm sorry, It's not an excuse. A stupid law is a law, and especially if you're aware of it. This isn't a new thing.
I know,
this is something that
everyone
knows.
My point is this, Nima, right? Yes, I know by the letter of the law it's a penalty, but if you jump up naturally, you can't stop what is a natural
Nobody
movement.
jumps out like a scarecrow. I don't understand what you mean. You jump up, you use your arms perhaps to jump up like that.
Your arms come out a little bit. His
arm is out here. Now, that's a stupid mistake by Denzel Dumfries, and it's fine, it happens, but it's a stonewall penalty. There's nothing to discuss. The law is what it is. We could discuss if the law is stupid, it should be revised, it should be whatever, but the players know the law. They know how it
I know, but what I'm saying is that when you jump up, your arms do naturally come out, and sometimes they naturally come out. They naturally come out more than naturally they might come out more than they should do. It's just. And then once it hits him, his arm comes out a little bit more. I'm not saying it's not a penalty. I'm just saying that, this is why I hate penalties, and they need to just be sometimes just use a bit of common sense.
No, I think the law should be. If anything should happen, it should be maybe the law should be revised. That you, especially when you're jumping up or whatever. But when your arm is out here and the ball hits you, I mean, it's not. There's no. I don't think we can blame anyone else except for Denzel Dumfries on that situation and other players who do stupid things in those situations. They know.
My overall point is though that Inter are a bit unlucky to concede in that way. There's no danger. He just headed it back in. He's handballed it. It's not like they got opened up. So I mean, I think that there was a little degree of bad luck on this, but at the same time, I do want to praise Udinese. I thought they played a really good game. I thought that defensively, I mean, first of all, Keinan Davis was absolutely magnificent in this game. Udinese got rid of Lorenzo Luca. If Keinan Davis can stay fit and he can maintain this kind of level, he's going to be joining a bigger club next season, because this guy, the way that he was holding the ball up, he was out muscling, what are strong Inter defenders. He was dropping deep. He was great on the transitions. He showed good pace. He went on one really great run in the second half from his own half where, his final product, that's where he needs to improve to take the next step. But so powerful, so hard working. I was so impressed by Keinan Davis. And I was also very, very impressed by Soule, who was a monster, and Christensen, who was my man of the match. Christensen was absolutely brilliant. He won everything in the air, every single cross, because Inter are used to kind of bullying teams aerially, in crosses in the box from corners, set pieces. And Christensen and Soule were their equal. Udinese are a physical side, and there's not going to be many teams that can do that against Inter, and they were fantastic. So, once again, Udinese, as they have in recent years with some of the players that they've developed and sold to bigger clubs, Luca the most recent, but before that, Dorji and DePaul, and there was also, Biol, Beto. I think that we're seeing with Soule, obviously he's got his legal issues, Christensen, maybe even Keinan Davis, even though he's a bit older. Atta scored a fantastic goal. I think Udinese are a team that will give a lot of teams problems this season, I think.
Oh, I agree 100% with that. I think they're structurally very sound. I really like Kosta Runjaic. I think they sold Lorenzo Luca, but they knew what they were doing. Keinan Davis has been there for a while, but now he's ready to step up and be the main character, if you will. I thought Jesper Karlström did well in the Regista role. I think I really loved Artur Atta's goal. I thought it was stunning. Atta's goal was absolutely beautiful. I mean, it was a lovely move, but the finish was just magnificent. No, I think Udinese are.
If there's one positive, Nima, for Inter, I would say from these first two match days is that I think we're seeing the Marcus Thuram back to his proper levels again. I thought he was absolutely brilliant against Torino, and I thought in this game he got the assist. He got another assist for the DiMarco goal, which was it's unlucky. It's inches offside. And he got the assist for that, and I think he looks in much better shape. He looks leaner, he looks lighter, he looks quicker, more nimble. So I think that's a good sign, especially as he was kind of playing.
I do.
Was poor.
Yeah. I think that's fair. I think Thuram looks fresher and looks back to being Thuram again. His movement is. I'm there's a couple of things I'm worried about Inter. I think Cristian Chivu was sacked by December. We've spoken privately. I've told you this for 3 months. I think by December he's sacked, because when the top four is at risk, which it will be if you keep playing like this, and if all the warning signs that I've been talking with you and others in private about continue, which have been just magnified by the first two matches, they're not going to stick with Cristian Chivu. And for me, the issue is also that some players that really benefited from the Inzaghi system are not going to benefit from Chivu at all. They're going to look very weak, like Di Marco, like Denzel Dumfries, like Acerbi. These are players that are going to suffer under Cristian Chivu. And this is not because Chivu is somehow some evil person or something like. No, he is not ready to be coach of Inter. It is that simple. He hasn't got the tactical astuteness at this point in his career to be at a club of Inter stature. That's just a simple fact. And if you also look at the Champions League draw, which was very difficult for Inter, it's not easy at all. You're going to see lots of things happen there. Maybe not in the first opening 4 games, which he should be able to win. But the last 3-4 matches are very, very tough. And he's going to be ruthlessly exposed. Now, he's had about 2-3 months to prepare for this. I understand the Mercato was not, they didn't get Lookman. They didn't sign a defender. That's fine. But they did bring in everything else they were going to do, and they got rid of all the things they wanted to do. This is not a Mercato issue. This is a structural issue with a coach that is not at the level. And again, what I'm saying is not a criticism of Cristian Chivu. Like I said in our preview, and I will say this again so that people who experience cognitive dissonance can think on this again. I will never criticize Chivu for stepping up and taking the responsibility that he took when Inter came calling, because Inter were in deep shit, which they put themselves in after Inzaghi left, and they had no replacement except Fabregas, who is co-owner at Como and didn't want to leave and couldn't leave, right? They put themselves in a shitty position, and Chivu stepped up, risking, of course, it's an honor to be the coach of Inter, but essentially, in so doing, without being ready, he's essentially putting his entire career at risk. So I'm not criticizing him. My criticism of all of this goes to Oaktree and their man, Beppe Marotta. He wasn't prepared. And this is going to hurt Inter, because on paper, my opinion is Inter should, if maybe not run away with this Scudetto, but certainly be in a race and win it. They are the favorites. They are the best team on paper. They're not going to be in a Scudetto race this season. They're going to be fighting for top 4 because they have a coach who is tactically inept and is tactically immature, does not have the required experience, and looks lost. He has players that are not too happy about where they are, and they are overthinking. Already we're seeing criticism of Barella, justly so, of him overworking, overthinking, not doing enough, and so on and so forth. And this is a perfect storm. And
Okay,
I don't.
well, then
listen. Let me finish. When I hear people say, like Thuram, we were unlucky, it makes me want to throw something out the window. It's match day 2, and you're already in this mindset where you're moaning and complaining that you're unlucky. This is going to be a woe is me season. That's what that tells me, until Chivu is sacked and someone with actual experience of what it takes to be at a big club is appointed. That's how it is. It gives me no joy to say that. None.
Okay. Well, match day 3 is going to be a big game because it's the Derby d'Italia against Juventus, who win 1-0 at Genoa just. But the story, of course, is all about Dusan Vlahovic, who came on as a substitute and scored the winner. Juventus, of course, been trying to sell all summer, right up until the last few days. He's going to stay now. By the time most of you listen to this, the transfer window will have shut. And he started the season with 2 goals in 2 games, both off the bench, both very important goals. The first goal in the first game came with when Juventus were down to 10 men against Parma, and he ended the game to make it 2-0. And this game, in a game where Juventus were struggling to break down a very kind of defensive, resolute Genoa side. And yeah, Vlahovic is an interesting one because he's started the season, obviously, now that he's staying, as a backup to Jonathan David. Now, Luis Openda is coming in as well from Leipzig. So, let's put it this way. Vlahovic is not first choice. He's on the bench. But he's come in and he's had this kind of hunger about him, as if he's got a point to prove. He's got a point to prove. He wants to prove people wrong. A lot of people have been rightfully mocking him for what he's done, for the price tag, for being the best paid player in the league, and for refusing transfers away this summer because he doesn't want to take a pay cut. He wants to earn his 12 million euros net for this season. Doesn't want to take doesn't want to earn less. And it's almost like, I don't know, maybe the fact that he now needs to earn his next move when he will be available on a free transfer next year, maybe that's also given him extra impetus to try and maintain that salary like the one he's earning. But, he's been good in these games as a sub, albeit as a sub. He was also good in the game against Atalanta, which Juventus won before the last pre-season game. He played well in that game as well. So it's an interesting one. I don't know what it is. Could it be? We had Misak Hulikan, one of our patrons, sent a message in. He said it's like they threatened to send him to work with Max Allegri. So he started to score again because, of course, Milan, Allegri, that was their first choice to be the number 9 of Milan. But yeah, the way I look at it is that so far, although David did score the winner against the Parma, or the first goal against Parma in that first game, the minutes on the pitch that Vlahovic has had compared to the minutes on the pitch David's had, it's only a small sample size, but so far, Vlahovic has been superior to Jonathan David. Jonathan David, I thought, was disappointing against Parma, apart from his goal. And he was very poor in this game against Genoa, very, very poor. And he missed an open goal as well. And other than that, wasn't really involved. So yeah, Vlahovic could potentially be even challenging. Well, at least David. We'll have to see what happens with Openda, because Openda's a good player as well. But he's definitely challenging Jonathan David's status in the team.
He is, and I think he's going to. I look at Juve and I see like I said in our preview and last week with Patrick as well, when we had him match day one, Juve are very solid defensively. They have lots of players that know how to, and they have a coach who knows how to neutralize teams and be very tight defensively as a unit. The depth in attack they have can only be, I mean, only Inter have more depth in attack, or similar depth, however you want to say it. You have incredible depth. I don't think Vlahovic is leaving. So you've got David, Vlahovic, Openda, Yildiz, Conceição, because Nico Gonzalez seems to be on the way out. That is more than good enough. More than good enough to not only compete
and
for
Zagrova's coming as well.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So that is more than enough to not just compete for a Scudetto, but even actually win it. To win the Serie A, given where they are in terms of, given where the strength of the Serie A and where all the clubs are. In a perfect, ideal world, Juventus could absolutely win this Scudetto. They're not favorites by any stretch of the imagination, but if you look at how they behave, how sound and solid they are structurally, and you look at the attack, the depth they have in attack, all the different tools, the different players who can decide, who can win matches in different ways, Juve cannot be discounted at all in a Scudetto.
Yeah, I mean, they can't be discounted. I think they definitely have the depth in attack. We'll see whether they have the quality of those nines. You know, David, Vlahovic, and Openda, obviously, didn't have a particularly great season last season, but he was very good the season before. You know, whether they are of the quality of, or they're not of the quality of Inter's attackers, or some of Napoli's, or you know, even Milan's with Leao and Kunku. You know, we'll see. But they've got the depth. There's no doubt about that. Lower down the pitch, though, you know, midfield, defense, there isn't the depth. And the defense is, you know, even though it's been very solid. I mean, again, in this game, they've had 2 clean sheets. Both games they've risked virtually nothing in both matches. There was just Ostergaard with a header against the bar with the last kick of the game, last touch of the game. Apart from that, in this game, there, you know, a couple of great blocks from João Mario and Locatelli, but very, very little threat. Genoa, when they generally do pose very little threat in games. Vieira is one of the most kind of boring defensive coaches in Serie A, as well as organised as his teams are. But yeah, I think that Juventus's problems, why I don't really see Juventus as a Scudetto contender. I'm not saying they can't win it, but why I think it's going to be very difficult is, you know, they just don't have the difference between the first team and the backups that are going to come in is absolutely huge in defense, in midfield. There just isn't quality.
Midfield, I agree. In defense, I think they're kind of at the same level. I mean, except for Bremer, who's the standout player. But other than that, I think the less of the defense.
Well, the problem with the defense is this: at the moment, it's Gatti. Kalulu's been playing right wing back, right? So in defense, it's Gatti, Bremer, and Kelly. After that, they've only got Rugani. They've got nothing else. They've got Kalulu who can play there, but Kalulu's having to play right wing back because the only other right wing back they've got is João Mario. So
yeah, Weston McKennie can play as well and can fill out in that role, and he's done so pretty all right. Look, I think for me the question mark is the midfield. Kefren Thuram. If he's injured, what happens? If he's suspended, if he's injured, what happens then? That's the main thing for me. That's the main question mark. I think for Juve this season, I think top 4 is a shoo-in. I think they're going to concede very little goals. They're not going to concede nothing.
If Bremer stays fit.
Otherwise,
it's like last season. But I mean, I think Juventus.
I think we have to assume that he does stay fit. I mean, he's looked really good. But regardless, for me, the question mark about Juve is what happens when Thuram is gone. Because I think they don't have any player who even remotely has any of his traits. So I think that could be an issue. But Juve look very, very solid defensively. And if you can maintain that kind of defensive solidity, risk minimization, making no mistakes, being very well organized, they have enough quality in attack and match winners in terms of penalty box players who can just create something out of nothing and win the game.
Yeah,
Jonathan David had a bad game, but Jonathan David is a goal scorer. Dusan Vlahovic looks fired up, but he's also a goal scorer. Kenan Yildiz is the future. He's the creator. Chico Conceição is fantastic 1v1. Like, do you see what I'm saying? There is scope there to win because the rest of the team is so structured defensively.
Yeah, if they can keep that structure, well, of course, they played two weak opponents. Parma, who don't look good, and Genoa, who are a very organised team, very hard to break down, but they're not. They usually offer virtually nothing going forward. So they've not been threatened at all. And in my opinion, Juventus are still very short at centre back. At right wing back, we'll see. We're recording this a few hours before the deadline closes. Juventus do ideally want to get a right wing back in. They need one desperately before the window closes. And they're short at centre midfield, as you've just touched upon. And I think over the course of the season, having depth is important in these areas. But it's been a good start for Juventus. 2 wins from 2. Also 2 wins from 2 for the champions Napoli. Only just though. Anguissa with the last kick of the game in the 95th minute. Napoli didn't play well in this game. They were very flat, no rhythm or flow to the game. I mean, they created nothing in the first half at all until McTominay had a kind of an individual play right in the stroke of half time that Caprile saved. And then in the second half, they created nothing clear at all until injury time when McTominay missed a glorious chance. Then he took an open goal off Oliveira's head with a bicycle kick attempt. And then Anguissa scored. So all the chances came at the end of the first half and at the end of the game in the second half. It wasn't a good game from Napoli at all. And I thought that what we saw in this match was the one question mark, the biggest question mark I had on Napoli before this season, aside from Lukaku, which I'll come to in a bit, the Lukaku injury that is, and that is fitting in both De Bruyne and McTominay in the same lineup together with what Conte has done, which is he's played all 4 of his star central midfielders in the same team in these 2 games. He's played like a 4-4-1-1. So he's played Lobotka, De Bruyne and Anguissa as kind of central midfielders, and then McTominay from the left more. So he's shoehorned all 4 centre midfielders into the team. And against Sassuolo, it was fine. But in this game, it was a team that everything was too central. There was no width. They weren't stretching Cagliari at all. Players were sort of like getting in each other's way a bit, including De Bruyne and McTominay. And it was very comfortable for Cagliari. They just sat deep. And really, like I said, apart from those closing moments of both halves, Napoli weren't creating anything. And actually, it was when De Bruyne came off with 10 minutes to go that Napoli became better because they were more balanced, they were more direct, and then that's when they started creating chances. So that is a question. Maybe it's a case of Conte needs to pick his games when he wants to play all 4 of them together. Because I think it's fine, you can do that, but not in this game. It didn't work.
For me, the issue is the person you touched on there, Kevin De Bruyne. I don't think he has really understood his role tactically on the pitch, and Conte wants to play all 4 of them, and I understand why he does. It's actually a really clever way, especially when Neres is injured, and he missed this game due to injury. So he's not fully fit, so you don't have that kind of natural winger to stretch the pitch, right? But with De Bruyne, and I think we saw it in the first game as well, he looks a little bit awkward in this system, in the Conte system. And I think it's teething issues more than anything right now before we can say anything definitive. I don't think it's one of those, he's finished or this, that, and the other. I think that's a bit reductive and ridiculous to say, but it's clear that having played for Guardiola for a decade, going to Antonio Conte with a completely different mindset and ideas and how he wants to play in his calcio verticale, it's going to take time, and it's going to look a bit awkward. I think awkward is the word I would use here. And when he went off, everything looked much more fluid, more natural, more balanced, more like the Conte Napoli we are used to seeing when things are working. It wasn't a fantastic game by Napoli in any stretch of the imagination, But it was much more a Napoli that we saw last season when things were going well under Conte. It was much more systematic. It clicked when De Bruyne came off. And I think it's going to take some time for them to gel and understand each other, and for him to understand this system and this way of playing. I think Neres coming back is very important. I think Rasmus Højlund coming in is very interesting. I think Rasmus Højlund is a very limited player, in my opinion, but he's a limited player who works in a system. And for Antonio Conte, with Lukaku out for God knows how long, and given his age, I think that's a very smart move. He will be able to do what Conte wants him to do. And now they have options when Luka is not firing or is not having a fantastic day.
Well, just to expand that on Luka, that was my other point. He has made a disappointing start to his Napoli career in both his games. He was poor in this game. He was poor actually against Sassuolo. His touch was off, and we saw how missed Lukaku can be, in that Lukaku is that outball. He's that cheat code for to get out and bring others into play. He's going to hold it up. He's going to occupy defenders, and players come off him and bounce off him. Plays the wall so well. And yeah, again, Napoli were better when Luka came off and Ambrosino, the youngster, came on. Ambrosino, the guy that, of course, famous from the Under-21 Euros, scoring that amazing free kick when Italy were down to 9 men against Germany to force extra time. We'll see. Listen, again, it's very early days with Luka. We know he's unpolished. We know that, Conte is very good at working with players who are not polished with their back to goal. And we'll see what he can do. But what would say for Luka is the fact that Højlund is coming in. He's missed a big opportunity in these 2 games where he's had no competition, and he could have really stamped his authority and made that shirt his own and said to Højlund, right, win the shirt off me now. And he hasn't done that. So Højlund's going to come in and think, right, I can be that first choice striker now. And so that's where Luka, of course, he needs to improve. But again, there's a lot of games to play. It's going to be a lot of matches. This is where depth is very, very important. And I think that, Napoli do have players to come off the bench, like they did in this game. And they do have, a bit like Juventus as well. I like the spirit of Napoli. I love to see that at full time. The way that they celebrated that goal. They all run off the pitch, the whole staff, all the substitutes, players that don't even play, and celebrated it. You can see that that's how together they are.
Conte,
you need that.
Conte, Antonio Conte. If there's anything he knows how to do, it's to build a dressing room. Like we've seen it throughout his career. Players love him. They die for him. He creates a unit, a group. Everyone, puts the team's best ahead of their own egos. And he, because he's fantastic at that. We see this time and time again everywhere Antonio Conte goes. And it's remarkable. Even when he's fighting with the club, he manages to insulate the squad and the team spirit from that. And it's so fantastic to see that he still got that. I want to touch on this point, because I think that Antonio Conte, we might be heading into the peak years of Antonio Conte now at Napoli, because one of the greatest criticisms towards him in his entire career was that he was too rigid, he was too formationally and structurally, tactically rigid. Well, he's not anymore. He's very, very versatile. He adapts. He's shown last year, especially last season, and also now in games, you can see him change things up. He never used to do that. He never used to do that at neither Juve or Inter, or he did it. He did one big change when he came to Chelsea and played a 3-4-3 and won the league. But other than that, it was the same thing over and over again. Well, now he has proven that he can change tactically, he can change formations, he can change structurally, he can change games in games, and he gets results, and the squad is behind him, they react to it, and it's so impressive to see. It's very rare we see coaches go back to the drawing board after a disappointing spell and then come back and continue to win. And I think what we might see him do here at Napoli is, as crazy as it sounds, it looks like he's opening up a winning cycle at Napoli.
Yeah, although one habit did remain in this game, and that was he waited way too long to make any subs in this match. But they got away with it.
we have to remember, like he has to leave something left so we know who he is. I mean, he can't just lose his identity completely.
Yeah, he needs to retain some of his identity. Parma, Atalanta, one of Conte's former clubs, Atalanta, not for very long. This wasn't a very good game. It was a game of very, very few chances, and 0.7 xG, both of them. Very, very, very few clear chances. Pasalic scored late on, looked like it would win the game for Atalanta. And then, of all people, the equaliser was scored by Patrick Cotrone. I didn't even know he still existed. But it was the most Patrick Cotrone goal ever. It really was. It was like Pippo Inzaghi kind of like goal poaching goal. Not a good game. Start from Atalanta, but both teams worried me in this game. First of all, Atalanta had a great fixture list to start this season. Pisa, maybe the weakest team in the league, and then Parma, a Parma team that's been ravaged in the Mercato. To only get 2 draws is concerning. The questions with Juric, of course, his entire career. It wasn't a problem in the Pisa game because they did have a lot of chances in that Pisa game. But the problem with Juric's whole career has always been the lack of goals scored and the lack of chances created. And creating 0.7 xG against this Parma team, that's not good. And most of that actually came from a Parma mistake. I mean, Scamacca should have scored in the first half when there was a terrible mistake. I think it was by Keita, and then basically had an open goal. Scamacca, he chipped it over, lobbed the keeper, and it hit the post. But that's not enough. It was just a poor performance from Atalanta. They're very lacking in fluidity and offensive quality in this game.
Yeah, look, I think in this game, maybe I'd say that in the first game they were good. I think they created lots of chances. They were just unlucky not to score. Scamacca scored in that first game, and he hit the post now. I mean, yes, you can say he maybe should have scored, but I mean, that chip that he does, I mean, just to think, instinctively react and think to do that. And then the chip itself was beautiful. Technically, I think Scamacca embodies a little bit what Atalanta are right now, in the sense that we know how talented they are, and he is. They're a little bit in transition, coming off, there's a big question mark. He came from a big serious injury last season. They are leaving after almost a decade of Gasperini. There are question marks there. And we know that the talent is there. Now they just need to unlock it and be able to deliver it. And I think that they'll be fine. I think, when I look at teams, I look at structure. Do I see identity? Do I see an idea? Do I see players that are adapted to turning that idea into concrete moves and goals and whatever on the pitch? At Atalanta, I see a lot of stability. I see a very clarity. What we don't see is, I think it's the fine tuning. And I'm not worried about Atalanta at all. I think they have, I look at the squad, I look at the players, they all seem to just be a little bit like, little rough on the edges in terms of working together. And I think you can work that out. The more you train together, the more you play together. Here in this game, they didn't create as much as they did in the first game. But, it's just one game. I'm not too worried. The first game, they created a lot. They were unlucky. I wonder, my question is, someone like Maldini, I don't see how he works in this system. I mean, I'm not his biggest fan, but I just think even less now without Gasperini, do I see a role for Daniel Maldini? I just don't. And Kristovic, to me, suggests that he's going to be a super sub kind of player. When they want to play a 2-man attack, when they want to hold up the ball more centrally in the area and have a more goal scorer kind of tap-in kind of situation, someone who instinctively scores goals. That's how I see Kristovic.
I thought Kristovic was decent, actually.
He was decent.
If I can speak about positives, I would say Kristovic came on. He got an assist. He could have scored. Scalvini, I thought, was excellent. Okay, yeah, he wasn't up against too much, but I thought Scalvini was excellent, and that was great to see. And I'm really, really just pray and hope he can, push on from here and no setbacks. And the other positive is, look, this is an Atalanta without Ederson and Lookman, and obviously Retegui had gone as well. But any team without Ederson and Lookman are gonna feel it, and assuming they can reintegrate Lookman, they're going to be a much better team. But the question mark is going to be, can they reintegrate Lookman? Can they? What is his mind going to be like? What's his head going to be like? How will his teammates, the fans, and everyone deal with him? Is that going to create a negative vibes, negative energy in a club that's had so much positive energy? So that's kind of that's a question for another day. But yeah, where Atalanta are now, yeah, it's a bit disappointing because of where they are. But I am, yeah, I don't think they're going to get top four. But I also have my worries with Parma as well. My question:
they're going to get relegated. I think they're going to get relegated. Honestly.
But the question I would ask about in relation to that is, if they are going to avoid relegation, my question is, where are the goals going to come from? Because I look at this Parma team play, and I see Pellegrino in attack, who is fantastic. The guy is a warrior. He holds the ball up. He fights for everything. He's great in the air. He brings others into play. He was a one man on his own, just holding everything up, winning free kicks. He's a handful. He's a pain in the butt. He's an old school, reminds me of some of these old school players from the 80s, playing in terrible conditions, and they just fight for everything. I love him. I think he's fantastic to watch. He's great to see. But apart from him, he's on his own. I mean, who else is there? I mean, they're looking at maybe, I think there's someone in there, I've forgotten his name now, that they're bringing in, who I know nothing about. Insigne, they're looking at potentially as a free transfer. They can sign him after the he's 34 years old now, coming off a disappointing spell in Canada. I kind of they've got rid of Bonnie, they've got rid of Mann, they've got rid of Mihailo. They had all this attacking talent. They've got rid of all of it. Okay, they played against two top teams, Juventus and Atalanta. They're teams at the top of the table, but they never looked like creating anything against either of these teams from open play. The goal that they scored come from a cross into the box, set piece, and it was just Cotrone just took a gamble. Brilliant brain. Pippo Inzaghi like brain to gamble and make that run, but they never look like creating or opening up teams. And so I'm worried. I am worried for them. I thought defensively they actually looked quite good in both games, even against Juventus. I thought they looked solid in this game. Okay, how much of that you want to put down to Juric and how much you want to put that down to Parma? Defensively in this game, they were pretty good. Apart from the defensive errors, they were actually good. The defense was good. Structurally, they were solid, and I guess that's to be expected from Carlos Kosta, from a disciple of the football terrorist that is Mikel Artetinahu, as I call him. He is a terrorist, so he's gonna probably be defensively solid, but you need to score goals. If you don't score goals, you're not going to get enough points, and that's my worry.
Yeah, exactly. And not just that, it's also where the goal is going to come from. And also they don't seem to, I think you're unfair on Arteta. I think Arteta does have attacking identity. So far from Kosta, nothing, absolutely nothing. Just an empty void of nothingness in attack. There's no ideas, there's no structure, there's nothing. And given how many players they've sold and with the level of the players that they've sold, I'm worried. And the lack of experience again. It's Serie A is important for experience. It's a very tactical league, and if you they've taken a gamble here with Kosta, and I think that he could be one of the first coaches to be sacked, like I said last week with Patrick, and also in our preview. I think the sooner Parma sack Kosta, I think the better chance they have of staying up. But other than that, I'm worried. I'm genuinely worried.
Nima's tirade against inexperienced coaches continues.
No, I just don't think that. No.
Well, listen. I don't think you'll find a single person that won't see this as a real Andrea Pirlo like shot in the dark, unless there's stuff that we don't know. Okay, it wasn't like Pirlo where it was just, he went for dinner and went for bike rides with Agnelli, so Agnelli just decided to take a shot in the dark. Like, this is a guy that's obviously proven himself to be something of a young phenomenon as a coach at Arsenal, but we're talking of as a coach, not as a manager, head coach. We're talking about someone within the setup, and there's a big difference from.
There's a huge difference. There's so many different moving parts you have to be on top of, and it's not just as they say in Italy, sa gestire la squadra. It's
having said that though, Nima, we have to be fair and look at the squad. And I look again. I look at the attack, and apart from Pellegrino, I look at the forward, and I think who's going to score goals and make goals for them. And then I look at the defence, and even though it's been defensively structured quite good defensively so far, you look at the names in defence, and you can't tell me that. I mean, that's probably on paper a relegation threat in defence, isn't it? So
I think it's a relegation threat in attack as well. Like
exactly, that's my point.
which is it's not just
the recipe.
him. It's a very bad window. It's a very bad, to me, it's like they're preparing for Serie B. And it makes
so strange because Parma had created a team of so many young, talented players and it's like one thing I think they've got a good centre midfielder. I think Bernabé's great, but he's always injured.
Absolutely.
And even though he made the mistake, I think that there's something in Keita as well. So I think that they've got the centre midfield's okay, but it's the defence and the attack at both ends is the issue. But anyway, we'll come back to Parma in the next weeks. Lecce against Milan. Lecce, another team that I think definitely gonna risk relegation this season. Deserved the win for Milan, though. I thought it was a good Milan performance. They created plenty of chances. They conceded very little. They scored 2. They had 2 disallowed. One of them very, harshly. You could maybe
no. It wasn't harsh. It was wrong. That is the wrong decision. It's insane to me. This is again the VAR, how the protocol is written. The referee didn't see the push, therefore the VAR discovered it, and so they told him to have a look, and so that's why he disallowed it upon review. But the fact that the VAR even got involved there is what I'm critical of, and it pisses me off. It's hardly a push that warrants a foul. That is an insane poor decision. It's the wrong decision. Let's be clear about that. There's no two-handed push. I know in Italy they're obsessed with pushes and two hands, but it's not even a two-handed push. I've seen that from so many angles, and it pisses me off. That is not.
It's not enough of a push. No, it's not.
But there's nothing there. There's nothing there.
It's a very light. Yeah, it's a very light push, but it's not a foul. It's not enough for a foul.
It's an atrocious call. It's the wrong call. We have to call things out for what they are. That is the wrong call.
No, it's a wrong call, and I want to give credit to Milan to and that's one thing that with Allegri generally. Yeah, Allegri will never allow his teams to crack up after a bad decision, whereas other teams with other managers might do, and that's to his credit. But yeah, I thought Ruben Loftus-Cheek was outstanding in this game. Maybe man of the match. I mean, he scored the first goal. He went close as well. I thought he was really good, very powerful run in, those kind of drives through midfield. Allegri likes him, and he's coming off a difficult season last season where a lot of people thought he was going to leave, and Allegri said no, I want him to stay. And Milan signed Ricci, they signed Yashari, they signed Modric. And everybody kind of assumed that nobody thought that Loftus-Cheek would be a first-choice player in that midfield 3, and he is the first-choice attacking midfielder in the out of all those players. And obviously Yashari's got injured now.
Ricci, broken fibula, which is it's just a horrible.
Couple of months, at least. I mean,
That is
Richie,
essentially what ended Tajon Buchanan's career at Inter. So
yeah.
I hope that Milan have a little bit more patience, that they leave him alone, let him rehab fully, maybe write off this season completely because of that, and let him work
it's a couple
himself
of
in.
months. He should be back by November, really. So I mean, I still think there's plenty of time. But yeah, listen, I think that Richie, I'm worried for. I don't think he's going to get much game time this season, and now Rabiot's coming in as well. But listen, I think that
Rabiot was a smart signing by Allegri and Milan.
yeah.
I think it's
We'll come on to a Rabiot. I'm going to talk about that when we get to deadline day. But listen, I think that Loftus-Cheek was outstanding. I thought Salamakers was really good again. Modric obviously got an assist. I thought that the decision to not start Pulisic, I think he was maybe carrying a bit of an injury, so maybe we shouldn't look too much into that. But Jimenez was the other interesting story for me because we know that Milan want to sell him. We'll see if he leaves by the end of the window. Again, we're recording this 4 hours before the transfer deadline. 5 hours before the transfer deadline. So we'll see whether he goes. But Milan have wanted to sell him. They've been trying to push him out. I thought that what Iliatari said before kickoff was really poor from Tare to say that publicly, to basically say, yeah, we want to sell you, basically. I thought that was very poor. And I know that's upset Jimenez. I think he shouldn't have admitted that publicly. But he went out, he played, he had a goal disallowed, he scored, he then scored.
I don't want to be mean, but can we... But just to end the discussion from last year, when you and I both said that the Fonseca project was stupid and a waste of resources and money. Well, everything Milan did last season, from the Fonseca appointment to his sacking to the people in charge of the transfers, has been an absolute disaster. Emerson Royal, Santi Jimenez, Alvaro Morata. It's like that bit with Chris Rock: grand opening, grand closing. I mean, they barely came before they were sold. It's insane. It's a complete waste of resources. So if Milan fans are pissed off, they have every right to be. They have every right to be pissed off. But I do want to say this. Now you have a serious sporting director. You have someone who knows what he's doing. You have a very, very experienced manager. And this season, who knows what he wants and what he's doing. And as annoyed as you are with your owners and the previous sporting director, and if you can even call him that, or them that, the people in charge of that, now you actually have people, you've got experienced people in the important positions. The only way is up here for Milan, the way I see it. I really do. And I think that Milan and Juve, having watched that now and looking at the Mercato and barring any huge surprises, I don't think there's going to be much of a Scudetto race this season, to be honest with you. I think Napoli are going to kind of run away with it, or maybe not run away with it with 10, 15 points, but I think they're going to be clearly in the top. I think Milan and Juve, if there is a Scudetto race, it's going to be Milan and Juve, or Milan or Juve, who push Napoli. And I think that it's the start of something at both Juve and Milan for the first time in many years that would give me hope if I were a Milan fan or a Juve fan.
Yeah, listen,
I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying they're done. I'm not saying they're there. I'm saying there's something there to build from. And I think the darkest days, the darkest part of the misery that you've experienced these last 4 or 5 years, I think that's behind you now, is the point I mean.
Yeah, I mean, we hope so, because Serie A needs a strong Milan for sure. But and
a strong Juve, and a strong
Rabiot, we'll talk about
Napoli.
Well, of course, yeah, of course. But the more stronger top teams in Serie A, the better. Yeah. But Nkunku and Rabiot coming in, we'll talk about them in a minute. As for Lecce, yeah, I think they're a very big risk of going down. And again, I'm not sure if they have the quality. He had Di Francesco to it, and as well. Helen Mirren was at the game, by the way.
She's a Lecce fan. She's got a house there. Yeah, and it
was a comical moment when it was so good, where Jimenez did this terrible miss where he missed by a mile, and Helen Mirren, the camera turned to Helen Mirren, and she had don't know why. It must be some kind of upper class thing to do. She got her binoculars out. she was looking as if like, you know, it missed by so far that she got.
Or maybe because of eyesight, maybe doesn't see as well either. I mean, there is that. Like she could have. I'm not sure if she's got impaired vision, but I know for a fact that like my eyesight has deteriorated as I gotten older, and I don't use binoculars at football games, but I don't rule it out if I put it that way.
It was pretty amusing. Right, Pisa Roma.
I just want to say it does seem, as I said about Parma, I think it really holds true about Lecce as well. Lecce are preparing for Serie B. That's the way I see this season, and I think, and you know, it breaks my heart because 22,000 season tickets sold again, very cheap prices. They've made that the prices so that everyone in can afford to go, and that's why they have some of the highest attendances and some of the most amazing stadiums of all teams in the Serie A. And it is a very, very charming club and a charming fan base, and a very nice part of Italy that, you know, I do really like that part of Italy, and I do really like Lecce. As if anyone had missed that listening to this.
Oh no, we didn't know that at all.
And Corvino, and Corvino,
Pisa
who I
Roma.
love.
Yeah, Pisa Roma. Matias Soulé, the winner. Great performance. Also had a goal disallowed as well. I mean, he's really grown in 2025. Don't want to make this about Juventus again, but I was always against that sale from the start, and I could never understand it. And he's showing himself, and I think he can really grow under Gasperini. Seems like the kind of player that Gasperini can really get the best out of. He's a really, really magical player to watch, isn't he, when he's on form? And him and Dybala even managed to combine together for the goal with Ferguson as well. And Ferguson's made a very impressive start. He was one of the players that I picked to watch out for this season. I think that if he can stay fit, I think Ferguson is exactly the kind of striker that the type of striker, let's say, that Gasperini likes, that can move around, can hold it up, can play both ways and be a goal threat as well, and interchange with his teammates. And we saw that interchange with the goal. So yeah, good win for Roma. An easy game.
I like Roma so far under Gasperini. I think he's handled things really well. The team, the players that have come in, the players that were there. I like that defense with Ndika, Mancini, Hermoso, and Svilar in goal. I think that's a solid defense. I like Ferguson, like you said, Soule, Dybala. I think Cristante and Kone are going to have a fantastic season as well. Watch out for Roma. Like, they could be the surprise of the season. If I were to now say which team could surprise us and break into the top four, I'd pick Roma because they look so solid, and Gasperini looks to be on top of things in a way this early on, which I didn't expect him to do. I'm going to be honest about that. I thought it was going to be a little bit rougher. But I really like them.
It's still too early, isn't it? It's still too early.
It's still too early, but I thought it was going to look a little bit. I thought they were going to struggle a bit more in the beginning under Gasperini than they have, and I'm impressed by the solidity. But I have to say, Svilar. I mean, some of the saves he does are just mental, and that defense as well. Again, Ndika, Mancini, even Hermoso look good. I mean, it's looking good. It's looking good for Roma. Absolutely is. And like I said, if I were to pick a team that could break into the top four and surprise everyone, it's Roma.
Yeah, I said that. I said that in my prediction, and we're going to do our revised predictions in a bit as well. The rest of the results, because we need to spend quite a bit of time on deadline day reaction stuff and also Italy preview, and we're already over an hour. Rest of the results: Cremonese 3, Sassuolo 2. This was a thriller. This was a fantastic game. 2-0 up Cremonese to 2-2. Then the last minute Cremonese penalty. Cremonese now with 6 points. Top
Davide
of the
Nicola.
This is what
I love
a story.
him. Listen, you know what? I'm going to officially come out and say, I hope Cremonese win the Scudetto. I want Davide Nicola to win the
Did you
Scudetto.
see? We're going to talk about him in a bit, but Jamie Vardy joining Cremonese. Did you see him getting mobbed by the fans? And the fans were calling him to take us to Europe, take us to Europe. Like,
this is wonderful. Like, this entire project with Davide Nicola, that squad, those players, and Jamie Vardy in there as well is
that's mad, isn't it?
The most random thing ever. I'm in love with this. I am so in love with him.
It's a really fascinating project, Cremonese. They're real good. They're the feel-good story of the beginning of the Serie A season because nobody knows anything about them, but it all seems kind of a bit almost Hollywood in a way, doesn't it? It's this tiny club. But they're signing like players from, kind of they're going up. Patrick Kendrick kind of summed it up quite well last Monday about how their strategy has been to sign experienced players. These are the players to keep up. And it's interesting to see the difference between a strategy like this and a strategy of like a Parma, for example, or an Udinese, who sign very young players. They try and build and survive that way, whereas Cremonese are trying to survive by buying experienced players. So, yeah,
listen,
it's been a great
you've got Davide
start.
Nicola, who is absolutely insane and throws shoes when he's upset on the sidelines. You have a literal farmer built like a brick shithouse, just muscle, no fat in Baschirotto in defense. You have Mussolini's grandson on the bench, and you have the patron saint of the VKD Blue, James Vardy. I mean, it's just, how do you not love this team? Like it is just insane. You've got Bondo, the former. I mean, I don't know. It's just crazy. Zerbin, Sanabria, Franco Vasquez. I mean, it's just
Vasquez. I have to say one thing with Vasquez. If I was Sanabria, I don't know what I would have done to Vasquez for stealing that goal. That was robbery. That was daylight robbery. I haven't seen a robbery like that since, I don't know, insert a great robbery from the first. Like, unbelievable. The ball was so clearly going in and he just steals it off the line. Goal poacher. Anyway,
listen, Cremonese really is the feel-good story of this, and it's a team of characters as well. And of course, the biggest character is Davide Nicola. I mean, and Jamie Vardy. This is going to be so much fun. I love this so much. I love this project. And to be honest with you, look, it's not just that they've got 6 points and they're going to go to Europe, but I do think that, look, it seems to me, the way, again, the structure based on these two games, they look solid, Carlo. They don't look to me like a team that's going to struggle.
Baschirotto he's a monster leader.
In defense.
He's a born leader. I mean, everybody follows him. You talk about the farm. I mean, he's like a sheepdog, isn't he? I mean, everybody follows him. Is great. I love Baschirotto doing that extravagant back heel before the cross for the goal for the Bonazzoli goal in the first match day, which was brilliant. And Bologna won, Como 0. Orsolini with the winner. So Bologna, who have been criticised quite heavily and probably deservedly so, which we'll come to for their transfer market, but that's an important win for them, and it just kind of clips the wings of Como after everybody was really big on them. So that was an important win. And Torino 0, Fiorentina 0, not the best of games. And then Lazio get off the mark with Maurizio Sarri's return with a 4-0 thrashing of Verona and a moment of absolute genius from Valentin Castellanos with a Rabona assist, which was just absolute magic. It was beautiful. And Lazio played great. They created so many chances in this game, and they really played the best of the Maurizio Sarri type of football that you expect. So, yeah, we want to see more of that. Right. So it's deadline day today, as we said, and what I want us to do is just go through some of the biggest transfers that we know have happened or are happening on deadline day, and just react to each one quickly. So first of all, let's do Juventus. So the big deals for Juventus are Luis Openda and Edon Zegrova joining Juve from Leipzig and Sevilla, respectfully, and Nico Gonzalez going to Atletico Madrid. Now, I think, as you said earlier in the show, this gives Juventus more depth in attack. It gives them more offensive firepower. My only question marks with this are Juventus play a 3-4-2-1. So they play one striker, one number 9. Vlahovic is a number 9. David is a number 9. Openda is really a number 9, although he can sort of play a little bit.
It's a bit like Colomwani, isn't he? He can play and kind of cover in both.
Well, sort of. I mean, David can drop deeper a bit as well, although he hasn't shown it very well so far. So my question mark is it in a 3-4-2-1? Is it basically 3 players playing for one position? That's my question. And if you were to play a 3-4-1-2, are those players that can actually coexist together? Again, I'm not sure. So that's my only question mark with the Openda. With the Segrova deal, again, this is a winger. This is a right winger playing in an inverted winger system. So where do you play him? You play him in a 2. Is he? I mean, Conceição is really a winger. He's been playing in an inverted role, so he's not playing in his ideal role. Or does Tudor want to have the option of playing? So my only question marks, I guess, are tactical, really. Kind of where do they fit in tactically and positionally? That's my one concern with that. But in terms of the depth and in terms of own options, I really like Segrova at Lille. He destroyed Juventus in the Champions League in one game. I saw him absolutely I can't remember who he was up against. He was playing left back for Juventus that game, but he had a field day against Juve when in the I think it was a 1-1 draw last year. So that's my opinion on that. Donnarumma to Man City. Now this is an interesting one. As we speak, Rino Gattuso has just confirmed that he's passed the medical before Man City announced it. Donnarumma to Man City. I think this is a great move potentially for Donnarumma if we want to kind of believe that he can improve the one weakness of his game, which is his ability with his feet. It's going to be a really interesting one to see whether a goalkeeper at the age of 26, who's 6'6" or whatever he is, and really is awful with his feet, if Guardiola can suddenly make him into somebody who can pass the ball, who can play the ball out from the back, then Guardiola is a genius. He's an absolute genius. But I mean, I think it's a good move for Donnarumma because after the way that he was left with 2 to 3 weeks of left of the window, and Luis Enrique really hung him out to dry, and he's desperate to find a new club, and he's managed to find a club as big as Manchester City. I think that's great. I think that's great for Donnarumma. It's great for the Italy national team because otherwise we're looking at a player that's going to be on the bench for the whole season in a World Cup year when we need him. And he can challenge. Okay, City have made a bad start to the season, one win from 3 games in the Premier League, but he's playing for a top club. So I think it's a good move for both Donnarumma and for Manchester City. Manchester City are getting the best goalkeeper in the world, best shot stopper in the world, and nobody can argue against that.
I'm not so sure if this is a good move. I'm glad that he's leaving. I'm glad that he's left PSG. I thought that situation was bizarre, although I don't think Luis Enrique was to blame for that. I think that's more down to PSG as a club. I think Luis Enrique as a manager, as every manager does, has the right to decide which player he wants to go with and how he wants to do and change his mind tactically. And I don't think Luis Enrique really did much. I think the fact that even happened is poor dirigenziale. It was bad sporting directorship, bad structurally by the club. It should never have come to that situation that Luis Enrique has to come out and say that. It should have been resolved in a much better way. It wasn't. But him going to City, I don't know, because where are City now? Yes, they have big players, they have big stars, but they don't seem to me as a team, as a unit, as sound structurally as a Liverpool or Arsenal. And I think defensively as well, This, Akanji is going to leave, and there's some other question marks about them defensively as well. What are Man City? Is Guardiola going to stay? How long is he going to stay? Are they content with not winning the Premier League and winning nothing again? Is that good for Donnarumma? I don't think so. I feel like City's entire project is a little bit in limbo, and that's why I'm not too happy about Donnarumma going to City. I would have preferred if he had gone to an Arsenal, or if he had gone to a Liverpool or a Real Madrid, or do you know what I mean? Just from a point of view of where that club is, or a Bayern Munich even. I would have preferred if Donnarumma had gone there. I think there's so many question marks around Manchester City and Guardiola.
I agree with all that, Nima. I agree with all that. The problem is that he was found in a situation in the middle of August where he needed to find a new club, and where was he going to go? Who needed a goalkeeper? Even City didn't need a goalkeeper. They had Ederson, but they managed to work out a way to sell Ederson and bring in Donnarumma. I mean, he didn't have any other alternatives. There was nowhere else to go unless he went back to Italy. Even Italy, really, there was only probably Inter that needed a goalkeeper, and we know that financially it's just impossible to do that deal unless he wants to throw away his chances of playing in a major European level, let's say. Sorry to say that, and earn the money he probably deserves as the best goalkeeper in the world. So I think that given the circumstances, I think he's done well, is what I'd say. Are City the best club? Are City a club that can probably win the Champions League this year? They look a bit off it at the moment. They do. They look like they've got issues, like you said. So I think that at the end of the day, given the circumstances, I think it's a good move, and it's important for Italy as well. And he might have a lot to do as well, City, more than expected. Milan, Nkunku, that was done a few days ago, and Rabiot joined in on deadline day. I think it's an interesting one. I think that Nkunku and Rafael Leao, if they can click together, it's going to be a lot of fun watching those two play, because they're good players to watch if they're on it. That's the question.
Yeah,
if they're on it, they're inconsistent.
And also in a counter-attacking team, which Allegri is mainly, the space to attack. And I think it's going to be lots of fun. I think these are clever moves by Milan. I think these are intelligent moves. We'll see what happens with Jimenez, and I wonder if Jimenez doesn't end up on the bench when Leao is fit, and he continues to play Leao as a number 9, and that's why I kind of had Leao. And I had him, Jonathan David, and Rafael Leao as my potential capocannoniere. I don't know how injured this injury with Leao. I've not seen anything conclusive as to how bad it is, but if he can come back and start playing regularly, I think he could score a hell of a lot of goals, and so could Nkunku, without a doubt.
Yeah. Just as we're talking, this nothing might come of this, but let's get your opinion on this, just in case it does. Inter are in talks. Manuel Akanji from Manchester City on loan. I think whether he's the right man, but they probably need ideally, maybe they watched that game last night and decided, you know what, we need to bring in a centre back. Or, and I think this would be a mistake, this is my opinion, if they're bringing in Manuel Akanji as an extra defender, then great. If they're bringing him in as a replacement for Benjamin Pavard, then it's almost like you're bringing in one experienced defender for another, aren't you? You're not really.
Yeah, but there's a difference. Yeah, but there's a difference. The difference is that Akanji is more of a central defender, isn't he? I mean, Pavard is a right centre back, and they're going to move Bisek to the right and play him in the middle. I think that's the idea.
I mean, I think he can play all three, but if you ask me who's more naturally suited to playing right centre back, I would say Pavard is more naturally suited.
But the issue is, Carlo, but the issue is to move Bisek to the right. And I think the issue is then to alternate Bisek with De Vrij to the right as a right centre-back, and have Acerbi and Akanji alternate the centre-back. You've got Bastoni, Carlos Augusto as left centre-back. Right. I think that's the thinking here, more than anything else.
I've always liked Akanji. I've always thought.
I know you have. And
I've always liked him, but he wasn't great last season, and there's always the questions marks of, he's only 30. There's always the question marks of, is he maybe starting to decline a little bit? We don't know.
as far as profiles go, I think he's the right profile. I think him and Soulé are the right profile. Bisek should not be in. I mean, I've always flaunted the idea of seeing Bisek play as a centre back, but that was in an Inzaghi system. This is no longer Inzaghi's team. So I'm not. I don't want to see him centrally there. I don't think I think I'd rather see him as a right centre back. And then I'd rather have Akanji there in the middle. I really do, because I think Akanji brings leadership and experience. And if it's only on a loan, 1 year loan, that's fine, because next summer Inter gonna have to buy a central defender because Acerbi's leaving. Mkhitaryan's gonna leave as well. So they need to do something there. But if they can put a stopgap on Akanji for a year and have him, De Vrij, Acerbi alternate in the centre back, have Bisek, and if it's Akanji or Stefan De Vrij to the right or whatever, then that's manageable, because next year Jan Sommer is probably going to leave as well. I mean, Inter need to overhaul the defense and goalkeeper position, and that's probably going to be the focus of the next 2 windows.
Yeah. Okay. Finally, and if there's any other late deadline day transfers after we record this, we can talk about them in the Q&A later in the week. Jamie Vardy to Cremonese. Come on, Nima. What do you make of this transfer?
As I said already, Vardy party in the Serie A. I mean, how can you not fall in love with that? I mean, I want to see what the Cremonese fans, what kind of chants they come up for him. And I mean, of course, he's not, this is one of those fun
They've come up with one already. They've said they've already been chanting Vardy, take us to Europe. But that's what they've been. No,
but I mean like something more, some form of
chat shit, get banged.
Yeah, chat shit, get banged, or they do something, some chant, which is some sort of variation of Jamie Vardy's having a party, bring your vodka and your Charlie kind of thing. I mean, it's one of those. That's the one I'm looking for, to see if they do some version of that in Italy. It's going to be hilarious. And Davide Nicola on there as well. And you know what JB Vardy does? He's a workhorse. And he's very concrete, and I think it's going to be, Cremonese are going to be very fun to watch this season, and I don't think they're going to get relegated. I think they look too stable. It's crazy. I think this is absolutely crazy, and it's probably Davide Nicola's greatest miracle yet, if he pulls it off.
Vardy's 38 years old. It's mad, isn't he? He's got shares in Como, and he's playing for Cremonese, and you'd think, retire, but he's got a contract till 2026 with an option to 2027 if they stay up, they don't get relegated. I mean, it's a great story.
It's a wonderful story. And Cremonese is not too far. It's in the north of Italy, isn't it? So Cremona.
Let's have a prediction. Yeah. How many goals will Jamie Vardy score in Serie A this season?
I think between 5 to 10.
Oh, really? As many as that?
Yeah, I think he's going to have between 5 to 10 goals. Yeah, I don't think he's going to be a starter. He's going to be a super sub.
If he gets between 5 to 10 goals, that's a brilliant return, given that it's going to take time to get him fit as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right. Winners and losers of the Serie A transfer window. What we'll do is we'll each pick a winner or 2 each and a loser or 2 each, and I'll go first. So winners, I'm going to pick, first of all, Napoli, because they kept Antonio Conte, which many people forget now because it's so long ago, but that is the most important transfer of their entire window, was to keep Antonio Conte. So that's crucial. They've kept all of their first team from last season, the key players. Yes, they sold Victor Osimhen, but he wasn't there last season. And they sold Raspadori, but he was a bench player or a squad player. So they've kept all their important players, and they've strengthened their squad so much. They've got so much depth now in every single position and department of the field. The only negative is the injury to Lukaku. That's the only negative that they got. Otherwise, it's been almost a perfect window. And Dan and Doy. If they'd have got Dan and Doy, it would have been the perfect window for Napoli. So they're a winner for me. Who do you have, Nima?
No, I have Napoli too. I think Napoli, getting Antonio Conte to stay, getting paid for Osimhen the way that they did, financing and getting everything they wanted to do. I think Dan Ndoye is probably the only one, but at this point, would you put it like, would if they went after someone like Ademola Lookman last minute kind of thing, it would be the icing on the cake. But of course, we know that Atalanta don't want to sell in the Serie A. So no, I can't be. I think for me, I have Napoli, and also I think Milan have had a good window. I know they get a lot of stick and a lot of criticism, but I think Milan have had a very good window in the if these last two deals that you mentioned, Nkunku and Rabiot is done.
Nkunku's done.
Yeah, exactly. Rabiot for me is key. If they get those two done, I think they've had a good window.
Well, they're trying to sign a centre. They're trying to sign a centre back as well.
And they need one, but I think they'll be fine. Look, I think they've had a good window. I think Milan have had a good window. I think Juventus is like the talent they have up front is also very impressive. No, I'd say for me it's Napoli and Milan.
I think the jury's out on Milan, but yeah, for sure Napoli. Losers. I've got two losers. Right. First of all, this is an easy one. Assuming he doesn't move, I don't think he is going to move. It's too late in the window. Atalanta can't get a replacement this late in the window. So it's not going to happen. But you never know. Ademola Lookman's the loser. Him himself, Lookman. He wanted that move to Inter or to a big club. He hasn't got that move. He's stuck at Atalanta. He took a big gamble to go on strike. It didn't pay off. He now comes back. He's got to be reintegrated. We'll see how that goes. Can he be reintegrated? What's his relationship going to be like with the squad, with the fans, with the club? How motivated is he going to be? He's going to turn 28 soon. By the time he has the chance to get a move, he's going to be in his 29th year, or he's going to be, nearly 29 next summer or next year. So I think, yeah, Lookman is a big loser.
For me, it's two. It's if we just clubs, Atalanta is a loser, and I think Lecce is a loser. I think Parma are losers. I think all the clubs that have lost. I mean, for me, Parma and Lecce have already discussed why they are losers on the transfer window. They have not strengthened, and it looks like they're almost preparing for Serie B. So that's not very good. And Atalanta, I think we have to say they are losers on the transfer window. It doesn't mean that they're going to have a bad season or not be able to do something in Europe and so or whatnot. But they're not better than they were. And the way that, losing Retegui and not really replacing him, I don't think Kristovic is that much of is more of a rotation player more than a replacement.
Yeah, he's a downgrade, isn't he?
Yeah, it's not an upgrade. Yeah, it's not an upgrade on paper, and also above all, the Lookman situation, which is as much Atalanta's fault as it is Lookman's, and they're going to lose out on.
And also Juric. I know we disagree over whether our ability, but you can't. I don't think you would even disagree that Juric is a downgrade on Gasperini.
I don't think he's that much of a downgrade. I think that's it's a different manager. They're cut from the same cloth in terms of identity. It's just that one is more attackingly balanced and the other is more defensively balanced. I think it's yes, of course, Gasperini, what he did at Atalanta for the last 9 years is historic. It's an unbelievable achievement. It's one of the greatest achievements and stories ever in Italian football. Let's be honest about that. So, of course, whoever is going to replace someone like Gasperini is always going to be, it's always going to be some form of a downgrade and there's going to be some form of a hangover. But I don't think it's that much of a downgrade. I think that's a bit harsh.
Well, time will tell. My other loser of the window is simple. Football. Just football. Football full stop is the loser of the window. And it's to do with the Premier League spending. Before everyone starts moaning and all the Premier League fanboys all start bombarding, especially on TikTok, which seems to be where I get most of the abuse and hate.
I love TikTok. There's so many stupid, crazy people on TikTok.
It really is the platform of Premfaces. TikTok.
Yeah,
it really is. It's it is a place to go for Premfaces.
Premface Central. Yeah,
it really is.
But it's funny. I love it.
It's funny, is what it is. The Premier League, right? I'm not blaming the Premier League in general.
It's not their fault.
I'm bemoaning. It is to an extent, but not all their fault. It's also our fault. Well,
Yeah,
it is
it's
sort of
Serie
their
A's
fault.
fault.
It is sort of their fault. They let in criminals and states into their
They do that in
into their
Italy as
league.
well.
So I
They
mean,
do
that
that
is their.
in Italy as well. They do that in Italy as well. They do that everywhere.
Yeah.
I can't blame the
Well,
Premier League
they
for
do
that.
it everywhere, but there's levels. There's levels.
Yeah.
There's the first and second level bad boss, and then there's the final level bad boss.
Well, I think
You know,
depends on what your
chopping up
definition.
chopping up heads in
Well, the
in
genociders being promoted and loved and said. I mean, we don't need to go there, but yeah, it's let's just say
Yeah.
that there are evil. When it comes to money in football, it's dirty. Football is dirty. I don't blame the Premier League for being as good as they are, but the spending is a problem. The
spending is a big problem.
spending
Yeah, the Premier League has spent over €3 billion in the summer transfer window, over 2 billion more than Serie A, 1.5 billion net spend in the Premier League, compared to Serie A and the other major European leagues, whose net spend was all close to zero, or in some cases, and for much of the window, the Serie A net spend was in the green. The Premier League is 1.5 billion in the red. So that is the difference. That is the gap between the Premier League and Serie A and all the other major European leagues. This is a summer where basically every Premier League club has just gone berserk with their spending, and the relegation and promoted teams from the Premier League beating the top Serie A teams in spending and to players. You've got, just to give you a few examples, you've got Nottingham Forest beating the champions Napoli to Antonio Conte's #1 summer transfer target, Dan and Doy. You've got Sunderland outbidding Milan to sign Granit Xhaka. You've got Burnley beating Roma to Florentino Luis. Burnley, a team that just got promoted. Brighton signing Diego Coppola. You know, the Premier League is the Super League, as we've said so many times. And club football, I'm sorry, club football is completely destroyed. You know, there is the Premier League on one hand, and then you've got every other league now in Europe, which is a penny pinching or bankrupt feeder league. It really is as simple as that. And you know what? If you thought Serie A was bad, try and be a Bundesliga supporter during this transfer window. Have a look at every other club other than Bayern Munich. Even Bayern Munich's pretty depressing because Bayern Munich missed out on all their top targets because they all went to Premier League clubs or to other clubs, right? Have a look at all the other major teams in the Bundesliga. Bayer Leverkusen, totally ravaged, lost every single one of their big players to the Premier League. Have a look at Leipzig. Have a look at all the other Dortmund. Have a look at all the other top teams. The Bundesliga completely ravaged by the Premier League. They've lost all their pretty much 90% of their best players outside of Bayern Munich, and they've all virtually all gone to Premier League teams. You know, that's just that league.
Can I just say, yeah, well, told you. I mean, it's just when the European Super League came along and all you football revolutionaries were saying that football was saved. Well, told you this was the only way to stop it. The European Super League would have been the only way to stop this. Well, congratulations. You played yourself. It's over now. It's finished. It's done. Wait until they launch their own subscription service. Then that guarantees them to always have money and TV revenue coming in until the end of time.
Well, I think that's guaranteed. It's guaranteed already. It really is.
You'll see this too. You'll see this too. I mean, it's over. It's finished. They've won it, and the others can. It's over.
It's already all over. I don't agree.
Yeah, but that was the last hope, and if the last hope was also to counter them at some level on different ways of monetizing, but no one did.
The problem is though, we've got to the point now, Nima, where you can't.
Yeah, but everyone else was saying. Yeah, but let me finish. Everyone else was at the time was saying, no, this is the European Super League will kill the soul of football and this, that, and the other. Well, what did you think was going to happen when you have, like Galliani said, we needed a Brexit in football? He was right on that. And instead, we didn't get that. Instead, we've gotten, and UEFA is the Champions League is going to, that's next. Like, if they think that they can survive the onslaught from the Premier League, they don't know what they're talking about, because the Premier League is going to swallow up financially even the Champions League. And when UEFA don't understand the leverage they have in that, the Premier League clubs need these European away nights in football more than European football needs them to a certain extent. And the fact that they didn't understand that, and that they didn't leverage this to their advantage to balance out, is going to kill them as well. And they
it's going to kill them. But remember is that UEFA is owned by England and the Premier League.
There is that as well. But
they're owned. So you know.
No, but my point is this: that what people didn't understand is, but they've got all the money and you need to play ball with them. And it's like, but at the same time, they need European away nights. If you had completely left them out of it, and you created with the three big teams in Portugal, the three big teams in Germany, 3 big teams in France, the 5-6 big teams in Italy, all these big teams you created, and you'd gone and created the champion. You'd leave the Champions League to be the 4 teams from England, and then Norway and Romania and whoever else. That would have destroyed it. They need these away games. And they missed
the chance. Unfortunately, the Super League was sadly executed with an idea to make it disgracefully executed with a closed shop. If it hadn't been a closed shop, it could have worked. But they did a closed shop, and at the end of the day, the solution was, you've got a disease, we're going to give you a poison to treat your disease. It's an analogy that could be used for something else a few years ago. So I mean, that's not a way of solving a big problem by feeding poison. Unfortunately, they executed it badly. It was amateurish.
They could have, if they had executed.
And unfortunately,
properly,
we've missed the chance. We've missed the chance. And now, to come to your point, where you can't monetize something that's not sellable. And unfortunately, European football outside the Premier League is not sellable now. And as much as we sit here sometimes and we criticize, without any doubt, some of the absolute incompetent idiots that run Serie A and how clueless they are, we've also got to acknowledge that they're now trying to sell a product which really doesn't have much interest around the world anymore. And it's hard to sell TV rights to something, and this, people listening to this might think, oh my God, these are the Italian football podcasts and they're shitting on their own product. Well, I'm sorry, but we're being honest here. I've just read out to you the numbers here. How the hell can Serie A or any league possibly cope or compete against a league with that are spending 1.5 billion net against your virtually zero? You can't.
I'm seeing now that
people don't want to watch that anymore. People don't want to watch the Champions League, Nima, because they're not going to want to watch, one-sided matches between, Anyway.
Yeah. No, look, in order to fix something, just on that point about us, slating the Serie A and the stupid people that run it, incompetent people that run it, well, it's because in order to fix something, you have to first admit that there is a problem to fix. And when a lot of people don't even want to pretend that there is a problem to fix, why would we pretend that everything's great when it's not great? That's the point. And yeah, we love Italian football. We'll always love Italian football, but it doesn't mean that we have to pretend that it's perfect when it isn't. No.
Let's just to finish off on this segment, best transfer of the summer in Serie A. I'm going to go for Kevin De Bruyne.
I mean, I went for one of Kevin De Bruyne and Petar Sucic. I think Petar Sucic is going to be one of the signings of not just in the Serie A, but in Europe. I think he is the talent that he has. And already we're seeing just him showing some of that is at the age of 21. It's fantastic. I think he's one of those players, unfortunately, that Inter players enjoy him while you can, because if he's fit, he will go to a Real Madrid or a Premier League side for 100 million euros in a 2-3 years.
Worst transfer of the summer. I'm going to stick with what I said last week or the week before. I'm going to stick with Luis Enrique.
Yeah, same. Luis Enrique. It was a signing that was brought in for Inter to play a 3-4-2-1 under Simone Inzaghi, and a part of that was Ademola Lookman. Now they got Cristian Chivu, no Ademola Lookman, but they have Luis Enrique. Well done. Congratulations, everyone involved. Well done. You must be proud of yourselves.
All right, let's zoom through this final segment on the Mercato. Let's grade the Mercato of each Serie A club. Marks out of 10, Nima. So I'll read out the name. You reply with a number out of 10. I'll reply straight after to that with my number. Okay? So, Napoli.
7.
8. Inter.
6.
7. Juventus.
6.5.
6.5. Okay. Milan.
7.
6.
I think 7.
6 for me. Como.
6.5.
7. Roma.
6.5.
6. Fiorentina.
6.
6.5. Lazio. No mark, Lazio. We can't mark them.
Senza voto, yeah. This is impossible to mark. Yeah.
Atalanta.
5.
4. Bologna.
4.5.
4. Torino.
6.
6 as well. Genoa.
5.5.
6. Udinese.
6.
6. Cagliari.
5.5.
6. Sassuolo.
6.
6 as well. Parma.
1. I mean, what the hell is this Mercato? No Leoni, no Zone, no Boni.
2. I'll give it a 2. Hellas Verona.
5.
Yeah, 5 for me. Cremonese.
6.5, 7, somewhere there.
I'm going 7. And finally, Pisa.
You forgot Lecce.
Did I not say Lecce?
No, you didn't say.
Okay,
You said
Lecce.
4.
I'll go 5. And Pisa finally.
5.5.
I'll give them a 6.5. I think not enough to stay up, but they did some decent business. Okay, and now let's do our revised Serie A predictions after the transfer market. So what I'll do is I'll go first. I'm going to pick my top 20. I'm going to start from 20th and work down to first. So I'm going to go 20th Pisa, 19th Lecce, 18th Hellas Verona. Those are the 3 teams I've got for relegation. I'm going to save Cremonese now after seeing their start of the season and their Mercato. So I've got 17th Cremonese, 16th Parma, although I do think Parma are a risk. Sassuolo, Cagliari, Udinese, Genoa, Torino. Then into the top 10, I've got Bologna 10th, Atalanta 9th, Lazio 8th, Fiorentina 7th, Como 6th, Roma 5th, Milan 4th, Juventus 3rd, Inter 2nd, Napoli 1st. So I've kept the same. I've actually kept the same top 10 as I had in our Serie A preview. I made a few little changes towards the bottom of the table.
I've got Lecce last, unfortunately. Parma 19th, Pisa at 17. 18. Then I got Hellas. I've got Cagliari. I've got Sassuolo, Cremonese, and then Udinese, Genoa. They're in their own, and Bologna. They're in their own Serie A, and Torino as well. Couldn't tell you where they finished, but they're going to be in the middle of the table there. Not much to those four clubs, you can just, order them however you want. Throw, like Mourinho said, throw coins in the air, and whichever stays on the table is the one that finishes 11, 12, 13, 14. I can't pick between them. But the top 10, not top 10, I think it's, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Top 9, I've got Lazio in 9th, Fiorentina in 8th, Como in 7th, Atalanta 6th, Roma 5th, Inter 4th, Milan 3rd, Juve 2nd, Napoli 1st.
Okay. Interesting.
Who's going to be your capocannoniere?
That's a tough one. It's a really tough one. Who did I have in the... I'm trying to think. Who did I have in the Serie A preview? Was it... Who did I have in the Serie A preview?
I can't remember who you had.
Was it Lautaro?
Yeah, I think so.
I think I might have gone Lautaro. Yeah. I don't know. It's a difficult one. I do think Inter are going to score a lot of goals because Chivu's going to be... They might concede a few, but I think they'll score quite a lot. So maybe I'll go Lautaro.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a lot of this Chivu thing gives me PTSD from when Leonardo was appointed after Benitez, after Inter won the treble. So I think you might be right in them scoring a lot, but I don't think they're going to win. I don't think an Inter player is going to win the Capocannoniere.
Actually, no, I had Moise Kean.
Moise Kean, yeah.
As my, yeah.
No, listen, I think I can't. I'm trying to pick one out of Jonathan David and Rafael Leao, and I just can't. I think they're going. I don't think Juve and Milan are going to score a lot, but I think those two are going to score a lot, if that makes sense. And I can't. I'm going to go shared. Leao, David, shared, because I can't pick between them. I really can't.
Okay. Right. Let's.
Oh yeah. I want us to know also. In the. Who's going to go farthest in the Champions League of all the Italian teams, and where are they going to go?
Not Atalanta or Juventus. So it's out of Napoli and Inter.
Napoli.
Juventus don't have a deep enough squad. They won't be able to compete with Champions League.
Napoli for me. I think they're going to go to a quarterfinal, semi-final with Conte. I think this is the year that he wants to prove to everybody that this notion of him being able to play 3 games a week and he can't do it in Europe and all of that. This is the final frontier for Conte.
Okay, let's do Napoli. I do think like they're lacking a bit offensively, maybe at the Champions League level. I don't think they have Champions League quality attackers to go really far. I think they're lacking a bit there, but I do think they've got a quality midfield, and I do think Conte will be able to make them defend well. So I think by virtue of that, maybe not semi-final, but maybe quarter-final.
Yeah, I'm saying I'm going to go out on a limb. It's Conte season, semi-final.
Let's do it. Yeah, why not? Why not?
But in the Europa League, watch out for Roma.
Yeah, Roma could be one to watch for sure.
Fiorentina and Pioli will win the Conference
Well, have you
League.
seen the state of that Europa League? Like playing furniture stores and
you mean Conference League?
Conference League, yeah. I mean, the state of some teams.
Fiorentina have to win the Conference League.
Even Crystal Palace were threatening to go out the other day as well. I mean, it was they could be.
I hope I'm putting all my eggs in the Pioli basket. I want Pioli to win the Conference League and finally win that for Fiorentina and finally end their title drought in Europe and domestically, just generally.
That would be beautiful, wouldn't it? Right. Yeah. Let's finish off before we finish with Baggio, Premface, and Serie ASS of the week. This extra long show today. Italy against Estonia. Let's do a preview. So it's Rino Gattuso's first game as manager of Italy, of course, replacing the sacked Luciano Spalletti. The game is on Friday, September the 5th at 20:45 CET at the Stadio di Bergamo, which is Atalanta Stadium. World Cup qualification group, UEFA Group I. I'll read through the squad quickly, and this is before any inevitable pullouts due to injuries. Carnesecchi, Donnarumma, Meret, Vicario, the goalkeepers, Bastoni, Bellanova, Calafiori, Cambiasso, Di Lorenzo, Di Marco, Gatti, Leoni, Mancini, the defenders, Barella, Fabian, Fratesi, Locatelli, Rovella, Tonali, midfielders, then Pio Esposito, Keane, Maldini, Orsolini, Politano, Raspadori, Retegui, Scamacca, and Zaccagni is the attackers. So the notable inclusions are Giovanni Leone and Pio Esposito getting their very first debut call-ups for the Italy national team, and then returns for Gianluca Mancini and Gianluca Scamacca after a year away from the Italy squad. Now, probable 11. The first thing to say is this. Gattuso is, if you can hear shouting in the background, I apologize. I'm at my parents' house and my dad is shouting, but
no one could hear it, but now I want to hear it.
You can hear it. I mean, this is just him talking normally, and he's just the loudest person ever. You could hear him. Like when we're at the cake shop, like honestly, people from like way down the street, they look over because they can hear. He's so like he's got his lungs are just honestly he shouts nonstop like 24 hours a day, and he never loses his voice. But anyway, right. Where was I? Yeah, so Gattuso's going to go back to a back four. It's going to be a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1. Now, the latest coming out, obviously recording this on Monday, is it's going to be a 4-3-3. And we're looking at Donnarumma in goal, Di Lorenzo, Mancini and Bastoni at centre-back, Di Marco at left-back, the three centre midfielders, Barella, Tonali, Fratesi as the centre midfielders. And then in attack, Orsolini, Scamacca and Zaccagni. Now, that's what we're being told on Monday, but we'll have to see the training over the course of the week, what changes will be made. So that is by very means not guaranteed that will be the setup. Of course, bear in mind that Politano is a favourite of his, so he might start on the right wing, which is what I would imagine. And, Moise Kean, I would certainly think would be ahead of Scamacca, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I want to get your opinion first on Gattuso moving back to a back four. Do you agree with that, or do you think he should stick with the back three?
No, like I said after Euros when we did our post-mortem on Spalletti, there's no point in appointing a coach and then asking him not to impose his ideas. I think the mistake was Spalletti playing with a back three. Like I said at the time, I think he should have continued with the back four. The problem is that Italy can't play with a back four, or not play. They can play with a back four, but they don't have. There are other problems on the pitch that get accentuated as a result of this, as their best players play in a back three. The best defenders, the best. They have wing backs and stuff like that. They don't have that many top class fullbacks and wingers, and I think that's a problem. But if you appoint Gattuso, then you have to let Gattuso play what he wants to play and how he wants to play, and don't force him to play with a back three. It's as simple as that. The problem was appointing a manager who plays with a back four. It's like, yeah, it's that's the problem. I am surprised that Fabian has been called up. I don't quite understand that. I'm not surprised that Pio Esposito has been called up. I just don't think that kind of calling up is not. I'm not a fan of that. I think give young players a chance at club level, but the first national team, like the first team of the national team, that's a
you got to earn it.
Achievement to be called up to the national team. Sorry,
you got to earn it.
Yeah, you got to earn it. And I don't think he's done anything to earn it. I don't think Fabian's done anything to earn it. I don't think Leone's done anything to earn it. I don't think he's to Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? Maldini, there, no comment on that. They call him the raccomandato when he was at Milan for a reason, and the rest, whatever. But I am
Racco Maldato.
Racco Maldini. But no, but it is what it is. I'm surprised at those call-ups. I am surprised that Ricci wasn't called up. I thought he would.
Ricci, as it stands, is going to be penalised massively by this Milan move because, according to Nicola Schira, Allegri sees Modric as a regista. He doesn't think he has the legs at 39, 40 years old to be a mezzala. That's what Allegri thinks. If that's the case, Modric is going to, you're not playing ahead of Modric. Modric has been great so far as well. Yeah. And when you're playing once a week, there's not enough games to rotate and share. So Modric is going to be playing probably 60 minutes, 70 minutes. Rich is going to play only if Modric is injured, or he's going to play the last 20 minutes of games to close up games or to bring his legs. So I think Rich is going to be penalised a lot this season.
We'll see, unless he can play him as a Mezzala or something.
Yeah, can Richie play as a Mezzala?
Yeah, that remains to be seen. Remains to be seen if he can kind of slide into that role.
But I agree with you on the formation. I think that, listen, if a manager can't play a certain system, you can't demand him to play that system. That's the problem. That's the problem I had during the Euros, when everybody was calling for him to play back three, and I was saying Spalletti has never. Well, he has used it in his career, but he's never had success with it. He's had success with a back four. That's who he is. That's what he knows. He doesn't know how to play back three. You demand a manager like Gattuso, who also doesn't know how to use a back three, to use a back three, then he's not going to do well with it, regardless of who the players are. So that's the issue. So I think the manager has to play the system he knows how to play, and so he has to play with a four. Do we have the players? Well, we know we have certain areas of the field where we're not strong enough. Unfortunately, that's the case. I do think that we have lots of defenders. We are starting to produce lots of defenders now, lots of quality defenders, centre backs for certain. And we need to hope that they play. Like Liani, for example, who's got a call up but hasn't played for Liverpool yet. So we need these players to play. But yeah, that's where I am with the formation. As for the qualification hopes, well, we spoke about this after Spalletti. I think it's an absolute guarantee now that we're going to go to a playoff. But we have to try. We have to try and create a miracle. We have 3 points from 2 matches. We have a -1 goal difference. Norway are first with 12 points from their 4 games. There's only 8 matches in total in the group. So the first top team qualifies. Second team goes to the playoff. Because we've already lost to Norway already, we basically need to win all the remaining 6 games. Norway, if you look at the fixtures they've got, are going to win all their games easily. They're playing minnows. And then we play Norway at home in the last game of the group. So we need to win all 6 of our games, including Norway at home in the last game, and overturn a -13, currently a -13 goal difference. So realistically, if we're looking at this game, this is our easiest game in the group remaining. We need to win this game by like 6 or 7.
Agreed. If they are to win the group, but I don't think they will.
No, I don't think they will. But if we're gonna go for it, we have to go all out attack, and we have to try and win by 6 or 7 here.
I agree. Simple as that. I'm kind of focused on the playoff already. I think Italy is just they need to. Italy needs to
build a team towards that.
Yeah. And I hope, and for me, Orsolini, I think, is a serviceable player, but the fact that he's now being touted as a starter.
But who else do you play? That's the same problem you've got. Politano is the alternative. There was talk that Chiesa might get a call up on the strength of playing 10 minutes sub appearances at Liverpool.
It's depressing.
It's an improvement for Chiesa this season.
So
he's gone from being not playing a minute and not even getting on the bench barely last season, being with the Cop Kids, as you said, to at least he's getting on the bench.
Cop Kids TV.
Yeah, at least this season he's getting 10 minutes off the bench, so he's getting a few minutes this season. That's the progress we've made. Yeah. Anyway, right. Let's finish with Baggio, Premface, and Serie ASS of the week. My Baggio is Tati Castellanos' Rabona assist for Zaccagni.
Yeah.
It's absolute magical.
No, that is the one as well. I thought it was stunning, but I also like Atta's goal against Inter. I thought that was a beautiful finish and beautiful shot. Yeah,
and also Cremonese, the whole story of Cremonese is a Baggio of the week.
It is. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Right, Premface of the week. I don't have one.
No, I've not. No, I haven't seen one. I've seen not anything like new, but I'm sure we'll I'm sure we'll be able to. I'm sure
leave in
there'll
the
be
comments, guys. Leave in the comments. We don't have a Premface this week.
Yeah, but it has to be one for the
Not
last
the first
week.
time ever.
Yeah, but it's because I think it's usually during the Mercato when like at this point, it's only if somebody says something about Donnarumma and can he do it on a dark night, cold night away at Stoke kind of thing. But other than that, you don't really get this.
Did we say last week Casey Keller?
It was Paul Merson.
Yeah,
yeah.
we say, was that
and
last
also,
week?
Yeah, we did. And also Bleacher Report saying, Nico Paz making his Serie A debut last week, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
And then they deleted it, of course.
There's got to be some Premface comments on deadline day. Come on, Cave Solikov, just stick him on for 10 minutes and you're bound to get some, surely.
I don't know. Is he still even on Twitter anymore? He doesn't. I don't know.
I don't know. He's your countryman. You should know.
No, I don't own him. I don't claim him. He's English. He speaks with a fake Cockney accent, so you can have him.
I can have it, right. Okay, right.
The most exaggerated Cockney accent I have ever heard in my life to make him sound like approachable and a man of the people. Like, do you remember when that whole thing was with the European Super League and the way he said it's all about the money? It was like he was making a parody of that, like 1980s. Like, I can't remember the name of it, but loads of money. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it was like a parody of that, and it was just so. Oh God,
yeah. Anyway, right. Serie A of the week, the Lega Serie A putting out a statement in response to a statement by Glenn Mikalev, who's the European Commissioner for Youth Culture and Sport, who basically rightfully put out a statement saying that he was deeply disappointed by proposals by the likes of Serie A and La Liga to stage domestic league matches outside of Europe. And the Lega Serie A then put out the most ridiculous, laughable statement. I'll read it out to you. Just shows how out of touch they are with the fans and just the climate and what is actually important right now given the state of our league. And the statement read, Lega Serie A is astonished by the words of European Commissioner Glenn Mikalev, whose comments seem to underestimate the complexity and strategic value of initiatives aimed at promoting Italian football on a global scale along the lines of what leagues such as the NBA and NFL are already doing by playing matches in Europe. To speak of betrayal for a single match out of a total of 380 Serie A matches seems an excessive position which risks fueling a populist debate far from a constructive and modern vision of sport. Taking a match abroad does not mean exporting the championship, but rather introducing new audiences to the excellence of Italian football, strengthening the competitiveness of the system and generating resources that have a positive impact on the entire movement, including at youth and amateur level, in return for a small sacrifice required of the Milan and Como fans, who will nevertheless benefit in terms of increased visibility and popularity worldwide. Serie A will continue to work to combine local grassroots with international openness. International openness, yeah, right. Fully aware of its role in promoting Italian football. International openness. So they put out this statement at a time when half of the world is up in arms because they can't actually watch Italian football because there's nowhere to watch it on TV. They haven't sold any Serie A TV rights. And here they are trying to proclaim that they're all about openness and bringing the league to new places when they haven't even got sold TV rights in what countries haven't got TV rights? India, half of Asia, half of Africa, places in Europe as well. I mean, they're so out of touch.
Yeah, they are. But we got sent in the real Serie A of the week for me is this shit show with Napoli and Decibel Bellini, the speaker. It's been sent in to us from our patron Joe Fischetti. He said, this afternoon local time, Napoli announced that a new partnership with a company called Golden Boys, owned by Napoletano rapper Geolier. I don't know how to pronounce that because I don't listen to rap and I don't listen to any rap and I have no idea how to pronounce that. But to be responsible for all stadium entertainment at Napoli matches. In the same statement, they announced the departures of beloved stadio announcer Decibel Bellini. Bellini's departure was not well received by Napoli fans, and they made that known online. Geolier responded with a post on Instagram saying it was the club's decision to replace Bellini, apparently with someone named Timo Suarez. A few hours later, Geolier posted again on Instagram saying Golden Boys have terminated the contract with SSC Napoli, and then Decibel Bellini apparently released a statement saying, in typical Neapolitan fashion, apparently he's going to continue. He's going to stay as the speaker, and he said it in a video, an emotional video on August 30th, that he's going to continue. So all this shit show for nothing. Like,
what a mess, eh?
It's hilarious. So yeah, it was sent in to us from Joe Fischetti, who is a Napoli fan. He has a Napoli podcast. Make sure to check that out if you're a Napoli fan in English. But yeah, this entire shit show back and forth is such a Serie A thing. Like, it's comedy. So now he's continuing, apparently.
Oh, he's actually staying on now.
Yeah, he released a video on Instagram, an emotional Instagram video.
Yeah, we couldn't lose him. We lost what's his name, the other Napoli legend, Tommy. We lost Tommy, didn't we? This summer, he retired.
Starace, no, the coffee guy.
Yeah, he retired, didn't he? This summer.
But he retired. I mean, he was old. But this is
but he's a legend. Like, we don't want to lose another.
But this is just insane that you do this shit show for nothing back and forth.
You know what I say? I say we need to bring back the Lazio
Eagle,
fan.
the Falconer.
Falconer, we need to bring him back
with a hydraulic penis pump.
Yes, that's what we need back. That's what Serie A needs.
I haven't followed that, but is he still squatting at Lazio's training ground?
Yeah, I think he's like padlocked his to the gates.
Yeah, brilliant, absolutely
right.
Brilliant.
Let's leave it at that. That's an extra long show today because of the Mercato. We had to talk about the deadline day as well as but it looks like it's happening. Akanji.
Yeah, It seems he's coming on a loan for a year, and it seems that he might stay, Pavard, as well.
Well, in that case, I think it's good. I think that's a good ending to the market for Inter, and it's what they needed. It's like they listened to our first segment and at the beginning of the pod, and then decided, right, we need to go outside a defender now after listening to us. Okay, right, let's leave it at that.
At this point, given that Mourinho was sacked by Fenerbahce, and if nothing improves, I'm doing the Mourinho countdown.
Oh God,
I'm doing the Mourinho countdown. I need Jose Mourinho back at Inter. I don't care what anyone says. I need him back. I need him to do what Helenio Herrera did. And after having been at Roma, after having won the European Cup 2 years in a row with Inter, he went to Roma, won a Coppa Italia. Mourinho won a treble with Inter. Then he went to Roma, won the Conference League and brought them to a Europa League final. He needs to come back to Inter. He needs to finish his Helenio Herrera career at Inter. He needs to do that. He needs
just to burst your bubble, but Inter are in negotiations with Marseille for Benjamin Pavard.
I know
we don't know if it's going to happen.
Yeah, but Inter are only prepared to sell him, not loan him.
Right,
that's the thing.
Yeah, so, fair enough. We'll okay, see. Right.
But yeah, we need Mourinho back.
I need to run anyway, Nima. So let's leave it at that. We will be back later in the week
for
Q&A, and then we might have something on reaction on Gattuso's first Italy game as well. But we'll confirm that later in the week.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you everyone for listening. Until next time. Ciao, ciao.